At first glance, you might not have noticed that Mon Mothma was one of the most important figures behind the New Jedi Order. When we talk about Mothma, we often spend most of our time discussing her feats as a Clone Wars senator, or later her achievements as the Rebel Alliance's Chief of State. But if we take a closer look at Mothma and her special relationship with Luke Skywalker, we'll find something else. A leader who tried to right every wrong that the Jedi had suffered. Today we're going to discover why Mon Mothma supported the Ancient Order of Force users, and how she helped Luke during the age of the New Jedi Order. But before we do, you might be curious, why did Mon Mothma grow up to be such a fervent supporter of the Jedi? We've seen it in the Clone Wars, we've seen it in the games, in the shows, and the movies. So we'll have to take a look at her childhood and early senator career to find the answer. Now hopefully this video will give more information and backstory on Mon Mothma for the Andor show, as I feel she will be quite a prominent character. So first of all, who is Mon Mothma? Well, she was born on the core world of Chandrila, 48 years before Luke Skywalker's famous Death Star run during the Battle of Yavin. So essentially she was born 48 years before Episode 4, meaning she's a little bit older than Anakin Skywalker. Now, there are a few special tidbits about Chandrila that you might want to know. As a core world, it shared the same space as Coruscant and Alderaan. And if you know anything about galactic history, then you'll remember that the core worlds were the earliest planets to join the Ancient Republic, which was formed just about 25,000 years before Mothma's birth. Chandrilans were proud of their heritage and proud of the contributions they made to the Republic. To some off-worlders, Chandrilan's sense of self-importance made them seem like elitists. But for Mon Mothma, that pride cultivated a unique passion within her, a passion for preserving the Republic, and the Jedi who protected it. When Emperor Palpatine first initiated his plan to dissolve the Republic and reorganize it into an empire, Mon Mothma was his loudest critic. While others like Bail Organa tried to fight Palpatine from the shadows, Mon Mothma eventually openly dissented, which nearly cost her everything when Palpatine tried to arrest her. But Mothma survived, and when the dust finally settled on the Galactic Civil War, her title of Chief of State carried over to the New Republic. So why would she be so important to the Jedi? Well, just because Mon Mothma was a Republic senator doesn't mean we should also assume she also supported the Jedi. There were plenty of great politicians who considered the Jedi a nasty warrior cult, especially after what Palpatine said about them and the story he spun during Order 66. Now, if you don't know, in the book Revenge of the Sith by Matthew Stover, which is the official novelization of Episode 3, Palpatine actually had a tape recorder when the Jedi came to arrest him. And the whole time while he was killing them and fighting them, he was essentially just speaking into it, saying, "No, please don't hurt me. This is treason. I'm scared for my life." And he would wink at them, and then he would kill another Jedi. He was pretty sadistic, but he knew what he was doing the whole time. And he played that tape in front of the Senate afterwards. Now, while it wasn't all too common to overhear other senators openly attack Yoda and his High Council, it also wasn't unheard of either, right? Palpatine made them look like they committed treason and like they betrayed the Republic. However, luckily for the Jedi, Mon Mothma cherished them in much the same way she cherished the Republic and its ideals. And in canon, Mothma was falsely accused of collaborating with the Jedi in the treason that Palpatine used as his excuse to execute Order 66. In many ways, Mothma knew just how terrible the Jedi's plight was, which was massively important for the foundation of the New Jedi Order. Because without the support of the Republic's head of state, the Jedi Order would have never existed in the first place. So if this is a little bit confusing, don't worry, it'll make more sense after we talk about the ancient connection between the Republic and the Jedi. Sometimes it is easy to forget that the Jedi Order isn't just a spiritual sect. Even though they follow the will of the Force, the Jedi are bound to the laws and governments of the galaxy in their actual Jedi code. And there's a simple reason for that. Both the Ancient Republic and the Jedi Order were founded at about the same time. The Ancient Republic rose out of a small group of allied worlds in the core, and the Jedi Order quickly evolved from a group of warriors from a planet called Tython. Since the Jedi Order's predecessors had protected the galaxy from the evil Rakata Empire, it was only natural for them to take a similar role within the Republic. Over the millennia, that relationship evolved until it culminated with Palpatine. As a Chancellor, the Sith Lord used his wartime powers and his knack of manipulating everyone around him in order to have the Jedi do his bidding. While Palpatine certainly didn't use the Jedi altruistically, he definitely demonstrated just how entwined the Order and the Republic had become, a fact which is often overlooked. When we talk about Luke Skywalker and the New Jedi Order, it's important to remember that he wasn't just following the spiritual journey of a powerful Force user. No, he was trying to recreate a massive organization that was, just as political as it was supposed to be Zen. Now, considering how vile Palpatine was and how viciously he had used the Jedi to serve his ends, Mon Mothma could have rejected Luke Skywalker's plans to rebuild the Order. And she wouldn't have been wrong to do so. If we take a look at the past 50 years of galactic conflicts, the Jedi were at the very center, and they weren't always the heroes. Thanks in part to Grandmaster Yoda's arrogance, the Sith were able to overtake the Senate and launch a war that nearly split the Republic in two. And the Jedi basically doomed themselves when they cruelly forced Anakin Skywalker to separate from his mother and trained the future Sith Lord without any family nearby. They basically just told Anakin, mourn those who pass away, do not. Miss them, do not. And to let go of his negative thoughts, that his thoughts betray him. That's not really any way to deal with someone who already has these former attachments. Now, if Mon Mothma was just another cunning politician, she would have wisely seen the New Jedi Order as a threat to her power. By pointing to all the Jedi's flaws, Mothma could have easily dragged Luke's name through the mud and made his Jedi Order an unrecognized or unsanctioned cult. Now, that wouldn't have stopped Luke, but it would have made it more difficult for him. But of course she didn't. Mothma put her full support behind Luke Skywalker. In the aftermath of the Galactic Civil War, Mon Mothma rebuilt the ancient alliances that had formed the Old Republic, and that included the Jedi. Mothma gave her blessings to Luke and wished him well as he scoured the galaxy in search of Force adepts who could join his new academy. And when he needed an actual place to train, Mothma made sure that the former rebel base on Yavin was readied. Although, considering the ancient ties to Nega Sato and Exar Kun, Luke's selection of Yavin was something he would often regret in the early years of his academy. As we know, the place was pretty haunted. But Mon Mothma's support wasn't always so obvious. Although Luke was one of the most powerful beings in the entire galaxy, arguably, he was still young. He was just about 30 years younger than Mon Mothma, like 28 years or something, and he desperately needed to help her in navigating galactic policies, and of course the politics. As the face of the Jedi Order and the famous warrior who defeated Darth Vader, at least to the galaxy, Luke was targeted time and time again by the sleazy politicians, dark side cultists, and an entire mob of sentients, and just mobs of people who wanted to use Luke Skywalker's fame towards their own ends. What can you do for me kind of thing. Often Luke would lean on Mon Mothma for advice because in ways of negotiations politically, she was the master, and they both earned each other's trust over the years. So this was how Mon Mothma helped rebuild the Jedi Order in Legends. I wonder if they're going to change that story in canon, most probably, and they'll adapt to their new canon going forwards. But I wonder if they're going to pick anything from the old canon as well, from old Legends. Mon Mothma is a pretty great character, and she's been really supportive of the Jedi. She did a lot in the original trilogy, so I'm excited to see more of her backstory leading up into episode 4, 5, and 6. Thanks for watching this video. Please leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Check me out on Spotify for daily exclusive content, and I will see you all in the next episode, right here on Star Wars Theory. Until then, remember, my fellow Jedi and Sith friends, the Force will be with you, always.